Chapter 23 Puzzle. In the weeks that followed, the church got as busy and loud as Grand Central Station at 5 p.m., with people coming and going all the time. The word was definitely out, and Puerto Ricans from all over the city were showing up in a barrio. All of a sudden, we were the center of the universe. I never knew exactly what was going on to happen after breakfast or in what order. The only thing I could count on was Angel being there before me, shoving something in his mouth. Perchudo and other restaurants gave food, and Angel was determined to have a taste of every single donation. The other thing I could count on was having a bodyguard, Mommy. Hey, Angel, have you been home? I asked the minute I saw him one day. I never want to go home. I got everything here, he answered. I noticed he was wearing a different coat. Not a new one, but one that was sure warmer than one he usually wore. Where did you get that? I asked. From the community that loves me, man. I looked at my mother for her reaction. She just stood there. Cara Paolo, typical. Hi, Signora Serrano. How could she not answer? I would have been like refusing to pet a dog that comes to lick your hand, tail wagging and all. Mammy forced her face into a smile. Hola, Angel. Angel gushed on. And later I'm going to test for tuberculosis and lead in my blood. They're doing free medical screenings. Angel was excited about a medical test? I guess the young lords did have a special kind of power. But right now, Angel said, I'm going back to my Puerto Rican history class. History class? I never thought of Puerto Ricans as having history. How stupid is that? I mean, everybody has history, right? People just don't come out of nowhere. You want to know why Puerto Ricans are so fine and beautiful and how come we come in so many different colors? Angel boasted, walking around like a rooster. Yes, I do. Tell me, Angel. Well, first Puerto Rico had Taino Indians, and then white Europeans came and they brought slaves from Africa with them. And that's why we are such a big mixture of all those people. And some of us have dark skin and some light skin, and some have kinky hair. And sometimes you find all those kinds of people in the same family. Can you dig it? Yeah, I can. I mean, Angel stopped and took a really close look at Mommy and me. Did you know that you do not look like your mother at all? Si, we know, answered Mammy. He looked at her closely. You look white, Signora Serrano. Ave Maria Parissima, said Mommy. Come on, history class is not over yet. Angel made a motion to follow him. We followed him down to a room in the basement. My next thought stopped me so suddenly my mother bumped into me. ¿Qué pasa? Nothing. Nothing. I put one foot in front of the other carefully because I was afraid of what I was thinking might make me fall on my face. My family was part of some very nasty Puerto Rican history. I had to laugh. I went from not knowing I had history to being embarrassed by my family's part in it. After all, who else could boast of being ashamed of having a grandfather who shot into a crowd of innocent people at the Ponce Massacre? Someone called out to me right before we went to the room where the class was being held. Hola, Evelyn. It was the Dominican lady Lydia who worked at the Five and Dime. She had 3 little kids hanging around her knees. These are my kids. We have to leave the lesson because they were too noisy. Oh, I had to quit my job at Cinco Diez because who can care for my kids? But maybe now they could stay here for a few hours and I can get a job cleaning houses. Good, right? Yeah. This is my mother. Mucho gusto, señora, said Lydia. But then she turned back to me. Now I know your mother. I meet your abuela at the Cinco de Diez. But I never knew could be so smart. Lydia must have seemed confused by my expression. Yes, she teaches us so much. I know a lot about Santo Domingo, but I do not know about Puerto Rico. Looking over her shoulder into the room, I saw what she was talking about. Abuela was teaching the class. Mommy caught it too, but Lydia's talking stopped from her entering the room right away, allowing me to ease in first. There were about 30 people sitting on the floor, some with babies on their laps, all listening to Abuela. She looked up and smiled when she saw me, wearing a V-neck sweater, lots of chains around her neck and hips, and a mini skirt and go-go boots. Abuela looks so cool. She had changed her hair from big to pulled tight back in a bun. With her black eyeliner and purple eyeshadow, she looked like a ballet dancer from the neck up. There were no more empty seats, so I sat on the floor. Mammy came in a little later, carrying a chair she must have found in the hallway. After looking around suspiciously, she sat down in the chair like a lump and took up her crocheting. If Abuela looked like a hot ballet dancer, Mammy looked like a box wearing a black dress. Don Pedro Ablias Campos, Abuela was saying. She told me how the people of Ponce massacre had been shot at because they were protesting Pedro Albuzi Campos's arrest. I looked around uneasily. Could people tell by looking at me that my grandfather was one of the shooters? I pulled my collar up. I made my face blank and tried to think about something else, but nobody paid attention to me. They were too busy paying attention to Abuela. I turned to see what Mammy was doing. She was staring at her mother. I was looking at my mother, and she was looking at her mother. Mammy was looking at Abuela the way you look at a puzzle and can't quite figure it out. How many times I looked at Mammy the same way? But there was something else in Mammy's look, and I wasn't sure it was ever in my look. My mother was looking at her mother, longing, like she missed her, even though she was looking right at her.